Most people dream of owning their own home, a place where they can finally feel safe and secure. But what happens when the perfect deal turns out to be too good to be true? Sometimes the most dangerous places aren't the ones with dark histories, but the ones that seem spotless on paper. Meet Marcus, a 32-year-old software engineer who had spent the last decade climbing the corporate ladder at a tech company in the city. He was methodical, analytical, and obsessed with getting the best value for his money. Every purchase was researched to death, every contract reviewed 3 times, every decision backed by spreadsheets and cost-benefit analysis. His colleagues often joked that Marcus could calculate the return on investment of a sandwich before taking a bite. After years of living in cramped studio apartments and sharing walls with noisy neighbors, Marcus had finally saved enough for a down payment on his first property. He wasn't interested in renting anymore. He wanted ownership, equity, something that was truly his. The problem was that real estate prices in the city had skyrocketed over the past few years, and his budget could barely afford a shoebox in a decent neighborhood. That's when he expanded his search to the outskirts, to neighborhoods that were a bit more isolated, a bit rougher around the edges. One evening, while scrolling through property listings on his laptop, he stumbled across something that made him pause. A 3-bedroom townhouse, recently renovated, modern fixtures, hardwood floors, and a small backyard. The listing photos showed gleaming countertops, fresh paint, and large windows that let in natural light. The price? Almost 30% below market value for similar properties in the area. Marcus's first instinct was skepticism. In his experience, deals this good always came with hidden problems. Foundation issues, mold, bad wiring, or worse. He immediately opened a new tab and started digging. He checked property records, looked up the address on crime maps, searched for news articles, and even scoured local forums for any mention of the street name. Nothing. No red flags, no scandals, no buried bodies in the backyard. The property had changed hands a few times over the past 20 years, but there was nothing unusual about the transaction history. Still not convinced, Marcus reached out to the seller's agent and requested a viewing. The agent, a middle-aged woman named Diane, was enthusiastic and accommodating. She explained that the seller was an older gentleman who had inherited the property from a distant relative and had no interest in moving there himself. He just wanted to sell it quickly and move on. That explained the low price, or at least that's what Diane claimed. The day of the viewing arrived, and Marcus drove out to the property. The neighborhood was quiet, almost too quiet. The streets were lined with similar townhouses, most of them well-maintained but showing their age. A few had overgrown lawns and peeling paint, signs of foreclosure or absentee landlords. At the end of a cul-de-sac, Marcus found the address. From the outside, it looked exactly like the photos, clean, modern, and move-in ready. Diane was already waiting by the front door, her bright smile cutting through the overcast afternoon. She unlocked the door and gestured for Marcus to step inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, he felt it. That strange sensation you get when you walk into a space that feels empty. Not just physically empty, but hollow, as if the house had been waiting for someone to fill it for a very long time. The interior was immaculate. The floors gleamed, the walls were freshly painted in neutral tones, and the kitchen had brand new stainless steel appliances. Everything about the place screamed value. Marcus walked through each room, inspecting the corners, checking the outlets, testing the faucets. Diane followed behind, listing off features and amenities. Modern HVAC system, updated electrical panel, new roof installed just 2 years ago. It all sounded perfect. As they made their way upstairs, Marcus noticed something odd. In the master bedroom, there was a walk-in closet with a door that didn't quite sit flush with the frame. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The closet was spacious, lined with shelves and hanging rods, but at the far end, there was another door. A smaller one, painted the same color as the walls, almost hidden in the shadows. Marcus pointed at it. "What's that?" Diane hesitated for just a fraction of a second before answering. "Oh, that's just access to the attic crawl space. Most of these townhouses have them. It's not really usable storage, the ceiling's too low. The previous owner kept it locked." Marcus walked over and tried the handle. Locked. He turned back to Diane. "Can we open it?" She shook her head apologetically. "I don't have a key for that one. The seller mentioned it was jammed shut anyway. Honestly, it's not something you'd ever need to access. But if you're serious about the property, I can ask him to get it open before closing." Marcus made a mental note, but didn't press further. The rest of the house checked out perfectly. No cracks in the foundation, no water damage, no strange smells or sounds. By the time the tour was over, he was almost convinced. Almost. Before leaving, Marcus asked Diane the question that had been nagging at him since he first saw the listing. Why is the price so low? I've seen comparable properties in this area go for at least 30% more. What's the catch? Diane gave him a practiced smile, the kind real estate agent's perfect over years of reassuring anxious buyers. Honestly, there's no catch. The seller inherited the property and doesn't want to deal with it. He lives across the country and just wants a quick sale. He priced it to move fast. You're just lucky you found it before someone else did. It sounded reasonable. Maybe too reasonable. But Marcus had done his research and everything checked out. No deaths, no crimes, no legal disputes. Just a motivated seller and a good deal. He decided to sleep on it. That night, back in his apartment, Marcus pulled up the property records again. He cross-referenced the seller's name with public databases, checked mortgage histories, and even looked up old Street View images on mapping websites. Everything was clean. Too clean, almost. It was as if the house had no history at all before 15 years ago. Prior to that, the records were sparse, just a few scattered ownership transfers with no additional details. Marcus told himself he was overthinking it. He'd spent years training himself to spot bad deals, and this one, despite his gut feeling, looked solid. The next morning, he called Diane and made an offer. It was accepted within hours. The closing process moved fast, faster than Marcus expected. Within 3 weeks, he was standing in front of his new home, keys in hand, a homeowner for the first time in his life. He felt a surge of pride as he unlocked the front door and stepped inside. This was his investment, his future, his space. The first few days were consumed with moving in. Marcus hired a small crew to help transport his furniture, set up his home office, and unpack boxes. He worked methodically, as always, labeling everything, organizing each room with precision. By the end of the first week, the place looked lived in. His books were on the shelves, his dishes in the cabinets, his clothes in the master bedroom closet. It was during that first week that Marcus noticed something strange. Every night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, he would wake up for no reason. Not because of a noise or a bad dream, just a sudden, unexplained awareness. He'd lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling wide awake despite having gone to bed exhausted. It happened 3 nights in a row before he started to find it unsettling. On the 4th night, he woke again at 2:47 a.m. This time he heard something. A faint creak, like footsteps on the hardwood floor downstairs. Marcus froze, listening intently. Another creak, then another. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic. Someone or something was moving through his house. His heart started to pound. He reached for his phone on the nightstand, ready to call the police, but then the sound stopped. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Marcus waited, barely breathing, straining to hear anything. Nothing. After what felt like an eternity, he got out of bed and crept toward the bedroom door. He opened it slowly, wincing as the hinges let out a soft squeak. The hallway was dark, illuminated only by the faint glow of a streetlight filtering through the window at the far end. He moved toward the staircase, each step careful and quiet. At the top of the stairs, he paused and looked down. The living room below was bathed in shadows, the furniture barely visible. Everything looked still, untouched. He descended slowly, gripping the railing, his eyes scanning every corner. When he reached the bottom, he flicked on the light. Nothing. The room was empty. The front door was locked, the windows secure. No signs of forced entry, no displaced objects. Marcus walked through the entire first floor, checking every room, every closet, every door. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. He stood in the middle of the living room, feeling foolish. It was an old house, he told himself. Old houses settle, they creak, they make noises. There was nothing to worry about. He turned off the light and went back upstairs, convincing himself it was all in his head. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something wasn't right. And that locked door in the master bedroom closet? Marcus couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, Marcus woke with a dull headache and bloodshot eyes. He hadn't slept well after the incident, tossing and turning until dawn painted the bedroom walls with pale light. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, he studied his reflection. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his face looked drawn, older somehow. He splashed cold water on his face, trying to shake off the lingering unease from the night before. Over breakfast, he tried to rationalize everything. Old houses made noises, that was a fact. Pipes expanded and contracted, wood settled, foundations shifted. He'd researched all of this before buying the place. What he'd heard was probably just the house acclimating to having someone living in it again. The creaking floorboards could have been caused by temperature changes or even small animals in the walls. Nothing supernatural, nothing to worry about. But no matter how many logical explanations he came up with, his mind kept circling back to that locked door in the master bedroom closet. Why was it locked? What was behind it? And why had Diane seemed so uncomfortable when he'd asked about it? Marcus decided he needed answers. After finishing his coffee, he went upstairs to the master bedroom and stood in front of the walk-in closet. In the daylight, the space looked completely ordinary. Clothes hung neatly on the rods, shoes lined the bottom shelves, and storage boxes sat stacked in the corner. But at the far end, barely visible in the shadows, was that small door. He walked over and examined it closely. The door was about 4 feet high, painted the same off-white as the walls, with a simple brass doorknob. He tried turning it again, but it wouldn't budge. The lock mechanism felt solid, not jammed or broken. Someone had deliberately locked this door and taken the key. Marcus pulled out his phone and called Diane. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and professional. "Marcus, how are you settling in?" "Good, mostly," he replied. "Listen, I wanted to ask about that door in the master bedroom closet. The one that leads to the attic crawl space. Can you get me a key for it?" There was a pause, just a beat too long. "Oh, that? Let me check with the seller. I'll get back to you. Thanks. I'd appreciate it." He hung up and stared at the door for another moment before heading downstairs. While he waited for Diane to call back, Marcus decided to do some work. He'd taken a few days off to move in, but his laptop was set up in the home office, and he had emails to catch up on. Focusing on code and spreadsheets would help take his mind off things. The afternoon passed quietly. Marcus worked, took a break for lunch, worked some more. By evening, Diane still hadn't called back. He tried her number again, but it went straight to voicemail. Frustrated, he left a message and decided to tackle the problem himself. He'd never picked a lock before, but the internet was full of tutorials. After watching a few videos, Marcus grabbed a couple of paper clips from his desk drawer and headed back upstairs. Standing in front of the small door, he bent the paper clips into the shapes the videos had demonstrated and inserted them into the lock. It took several attempts, his fingers clumsy and uncertain, but after about 20 minutes of fumbling, he felt something shift. The lock clicked and the doorknob turned. Marcus hesitated. Part of him wanted to leave it alone, to walk away and pretend he'd never managed to open it. But his curiosity was stronger than his caution. He pulled the door open. Behind it was darkness. A narrow crawl space extended into shadow, the ceiling so low he'd have to crouch to enter. The air that wafted out was stale and cold, carrying a faint musty smell. Marcus pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it into the space. The beam revealed wooden beams, exposed insulation, and dust. Lots of dust. But in the center of the crawl space, about 10 feet in, something caught the light. A box. A large cardboard box, sitting alone in the middle of the empty space. Marcus's heart rate picked up. Why would someone store a single box in a locked crawl space? He crouched down and squeezed through the small doorway, his shoulders brushing against the frame. The ceiling forced him to stay low, and with each step forward, the wooden planks beneath his hands and knees creaked ominously. When he reached the box, he sat back on his heels and examined it. The cardboard was old, faded, with no markings or labels. A layer of dust covered the top, disturbed only by the patterns of his flashlight beam. Marcus hesitated, then reached out and opened the flaps. Inside were papers, dozens of them, yellowed with age and covered in handwriting. He picked up the top sheet and held it closer to the light. It was a letter, dated 15 years ago, addressed to someone named David. The handwriting was shaky, almost frantic. "David, I don't know how much longer I can stay here. The sounds are getting worse. Every night, I hear it moving through the house. I've tried leaving, but something always brings me back. I think it wants me here. I think it needs me here. Please, if you're reading this, don't ignore what I'm telling you. This house is not safe. There's something wrong with it, something in the walls." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He shuffled through more papers. More letters, all addressed to David, all describing strange occurrences. Footsteps in empty rooms, doors opening on their own, shadows moving where there should be none, and a presence, something watching from the corners, something that grew stronger with each passing day. One letter, dated just days before the last, was particularly disturbing. The handwriting had deteriorated into barely legible scrawls. "It's in the walls. I can hear it scratching, clawing, trying to get out. Or maybe trying to get in. I don't know anymore. I sealed the crawl space, locked it shut. Maybe that will keep it contained. Maybe that will keep it away from the next person. But I don't think it will work. I don't think anything can stop it now." The letter ended there, the final words trailing off into an illegible smear. Marcus's hands were shaking as he put the papers back in the box. He needed to get out of this crawl space. Now, he backed out quickly, nearly hitting his head on a beam in his haste. When he emerged into the closet, he slammed the small door shut and turned the lock. His breathing was rapid, his heart pounding. He stood there for a moment, trying to process what he'd just read. Someone had lived in this house and experienced the same things he was experiencing. The footsteps, the strange sounds, the feeling of being watched. And whoever it was had been terrified enough to seal off the crawl space and leave behind those desperate letters. Marcus pulled out his phone and tried calling Diane again. Still no answer. He paced the bedroom, his mind racing. Should he leave? Pack up and get out tonight? But he'd just bought this place. He'd sunk all his savings into it. Where would he even go? As darkness fell outside, Marcus made a decision. He would spend one more night here, but he'd be ready. He gathered his laptop, his phone charger, and a heavy flashlight, and barricaded himself in the master bedroom. He pushed a chair against the door and kept all the lights on. If anything happened tonight, he wanted to see it coming. The hours crawled by. Marcus sat in bed, laptop open but ignored, ears straining for any sound. The house was quiet, almost unnaturally so. No creaks, no groans, nothing. Just silence. It was nearly midnight when his phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Marcus opened it, and his blood ran cold. "You shouldn't have opened that door." Marcus stared at his phone screen, his hands trembling. The message glowed in the darkness. "You shouldn't have opened that door." His thumb hovered over the reply button, but what would he even say? Who is this? How did they know? A sound from downstairs made him freeze. Not the creaking he'd heard before, but something else. Something dragging across the floor. Slow, deliberate. The sound moved from the living room toward the staircase, and with each passing second, it grew louder. Marcus's breathing turned shallow. He pressed himself against the headboard, eyes locked on the bedroom door he'd barricaded with a chair. The dragging sound reached the bottom of the stairs. Then silence. A horrible, suffocating silence that seemed to stretch on forever. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "It knows you found the letters." Marcus felt his stomach drop. His fingers flew across the keyboard. "Who is this? What do you want?" The reply came instantly. "Get out. Now. While you still can." Before he could respond, the dragging sound resumed. But this time, it was climbing the stairs. Step by step, something was ascending toward him. Marcus scrambled out of bed, grabbing his flashlight. He shone it at the door, watching the shadow underneath it shift and move. The doorknob began to turn. "No, no, no," Marcus whispered, backing toward the window. The chair wedged against the door started to slide, pushed by whatever was on the other side. He could hear breathing now, ragged and wet, like someone struggling to draw air through damaged lungs. The chair toppled over with a crash. The door swung open. At first, Marcus saw nothing, just the dark hallway beyond. But then he noticed it. A shape. Human-sized but wrong, standing just outside the threshold. It didn't move. It simply stood there, and somehow that was worse than if it had rushed at him. "Please," Marcus managed to choke out, though he wasn't sure what he was begging for. The shape took one step into the room, and the moonlight from the window caught it. Marcus's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. It looked like a person, but the proportions were all wrong. Too tall, limbs too long, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Its skin appeared gray and mottled, like something that had been underwater for too long. Then it opened its mouth. The jaw unhinged wider than any human mouth should, revealing rows of teeth that looked more like rusted nails than enamel. A sound emerged, a low, gurgling moan that made Marcus's bones ache. He didn't think. He ran, straight toward the window, throwing it open and climbing out onto the small ledge that ran along the second floor. The cold night air hit him like a slap, but he barely felt it. Behind him, he could hear the thing entering his bedroom, its footsteps heavy and uneven. The ledge was narrow, maybe 6 inches wide. Marcus pressed himself against the house, inching sideways toward the tree that grew near the corner of the building. His heart hammered so hard he thought it might burst. "Don't look down. Don't look back. Just move. A hand, if you could call it that, reached out of the window. The fingers were too long, ending in what looked like broken bones rather than nails. They grasped at the air where Marcus had been moments before. He reached the tree and grabbed a thick branch, swinging himself into the foliage. Branches scraped his face and arms, but he didn't stop. He climbed down as fast as he could, half falling the last few feet and landing hard on the lawn. Marcus ran. He didn't know where he was going, just away. Away from the house, away from that thing. His bare feet pounded against the cold pavement as he sprinted down the empty street. It was past midnight, and the neighborhood was dead silent. No cars, no lights in windows, nothing. Just him and the sound of his own panicked breathing. He pulled out his phone, fingers shaking as he tried to dial 911. But before he could press call, another message appeared. Don't bother. They won't believe you. No one ever believes. Marcus stopped running, his chest heaving. He turned back to look at his house. Every window was dark except one, the master bedroom. And in that window, silhouetted against the faint light, stood the figure. It raised one impossibly long arm and pointed directly at him. Then it vanished. Marcus's phone rang, making him jump so violently he nearly dropped it. Unknown number. His thumb hovered over the answer button. Every instinct screamed at him not to pick up, but something compelled him to press accept. Hello? His voice cracked, heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Wet, gargling, barely human. David couldn't leave either. The line went dead. Marcus's mind raced. David. The name from the letters. The person who'd written those desperate pleas for help. What had happened to him? Where was he now? A neighbor's porch light flickered on. An older woman stepped out, wrapped in a bathrobe. You all right, son? It's the middle of the night. Marcus stared at her, trying to form words. My house, there's something. You're bleeding, she interrupted, pointing at his face. Marcus touched his cheek, and his fingers came away red. The branches had cut him deeper than he'd realized. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. She ushered him inside her home, a small but tidy place that smelled like tea and old books. As she tended to his cuts with a first aid kit, Marcus tried to explain what had happened, but the words sounded insane even to his own ears. A creature in his bedroom. A crawl space full of letters. Messages from an unknown number. The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Chun, listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, That house at the end of the street? The blue one? Marcus nodded. Mrs. Chen's expression darkened. 3 families lived there before you. None of them stayed longer than a month. The last one, a man named David, he disappeared. Police searched everywhere, but never found him. After that, the place stood empty for years until some distant relative inherited it. What happened to him? Marcus whispered. Nobody knows. But the night before he vanished, I saw him in his yard, just like you. Barefoot, terrified, covered in scratches. He was screaming about something in the walls. Next morning, he was gone. They found his car in the driveway, wallet still inside, but no sign of him anywhere. Marcus felt sick. I need to leave. I need to get my things and never come back. Mrs. Chin shook her head slowly. I don't think it'll let you. Whatever's in that house, it doesn't let go easily. As if in response, Marcus's phone buzzed. Another message. Come home, Marcus. We have so much to discuss. The lights in Mrs. Chen's house flickered once, twice, then went out completely. In the darkness, Marcus heard it. That wet, gurgling breathing. It wasn't just in his house anymore. It had followed him. The breathing grew louder, closer. Marcus grabbed Mrs. Chen's arm. Run. We need to run right now. But when he turned toward the door, he saw it. Standing in the hallway, blocking their exit. The same figure from his bedroom, but now he could see it more clearly. It wore the tattered remains of clothes, and its face, though twisted and wrong, had features he recognized from a photo he'd seen in the real estate listing. The previous owner, David. What was left of David's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. When it spoke, its voice was a chorus of whispers, as if multiple people were speaking through one throat. The house needs someone new. I've waited so long. So very long. Marcus backed away, pulling Mrs. Chun with him. They retreated into the kitchen as the thing that had once been David advanced. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet being controlled by an amateur. The walls, it whispered. You heard them too, didn't you? Scratching. Always scratching. That's how it starts. That's how it calls to you. Mrs. Chin suddenly grabbed a container of salt from her counter and threw it at the creature. It recoiled, letting out a shriek that shattered the kitchen window. "Go!" she shouted at Marcus. "Back door! Now!" He didn't argue. As Mrs. Chun continued throwing salt, Marcus burst through the back door into her yard. He could hear the creature screaming, a sound that made his ears ring and his vision blur. He ran into the night once more, but this time he had a destination. The 24-hour gas station he'd passed when first moving to the neighborhood. It was bright, public, safe. There would be people there, witnesses. Whatever that thing was, it couldn't follow him somewhere with lights and cameras. Could it? Marcus didn't stop running until he reached the fluorescent glow of the gas station. He burst through the doors, startling the teenage clerk behind the counter. "Please," Marcus gasped. "Call the police." I need help." The clerk stared at him, eyes wide. "Dude, are you okay? You look. Just call them. Please." As the clerk reached for the phone, Marcus caught his reflection in the security mirror. He barely recognized himself. Covered in scratches, dirt smeared, eyes wild with terror. He looked like someone who'd lost their mind. Maybe he had. His phone buzzed one final time. Marcus looked down at the screen, dreading what he'd see. The message was just 2 words, "Welcome home." And beneath it, a photo. Taken from inside his house, looking out through the living room window. In the frame, clearly visible, was Marcus, standing right where he was now, at the gas station. The photo had been taken seconds ago. It was already inside.